Today, I want to explain three things: how I understand AI, how I see its relationship with people, and where I think AI belongs inside Alcheme. I will keep this rough explanation of how it works short, because this is not a machine learning lecture, and I am not trying to become the person at dinner who explains vector space before dessert. Today's mainstream AI assistants are no longer just bare next token predictors. They usually have post-training, preference alignment, tool use, retrieval, safety policies, and a whole engineering system around them. The language model at the center still relies heavily on statistical relationships learned from large-scale text, code, and human expression. You can imagine it, roughly, as operating in a huge high-dimensional space of relationships: words near other words, ideas near other ideas, patterns near other patterns. It can produce answers that feel incredibly fluent and useful because it has learned the shape of our language better than most of us can consciously explain. For these mainstream assistants, grounding is still not the same as human grounding. It does not meet the world through a body, action, cost, social responsibility, and real consequences the way humans do. Sometimes it can generate something that makes sense locally in language, but does not hold up in reality. That is my rough way of understanding hallucination. The answer can look right inside language before it has been checked against the world. I think language has gaps. It can compress the world and describe the world, but it is not the world itself. Linguistic intelligence is only one part of intelligence. As today's large language models become more capable and enter more consequential contexts, the cost of uncertainty, misuse, and wrong judgment becomes higher. The public conversation I have seen recently rarely stays with that complexity for very long. Either humans will be replaced by AI, or AI will never truly replace humans. One side is wildly optimistic, the other is deeply pessimistic. Both sides are trapped inside the same logic: replacement. Who replaces whom, who wins, who disappears, who gets center stage? The question itself is wrong. The world is not binary. Most important changes happen in the middle. If your brain only has two buttons, winner or loser, this video may feel slightly uncomfortable. Please close it quickly and protect your precious binary operating system. The reason is simple: extreme narratives travel faster. They are easier to understand, easier to fund, easier to argue over, and easier to rally people around. This is not unique to AI. Every technology cycle has some version of this. Web3 had it, AI has it. The next cycle will probably have it too, because attention has gravity. Wherever public attention gathers, money, talent, infrastructure, and consensus tend to gather after it. A few days ago, I heard a Solana forum host say that many founders are struggling to decide whether they should choose Web3 or AI. I almost laughed when I saw that. The question feels a little like waking up in the morning and seriously asking, should I step with my left foot first or my right foot first? Buddy, it's breakfast time, eat first, maybe have some milk. Binary narratives like this are not useless. They gather attention, and attention can sometimes accelerate development. The cost is a flatter conversation. The useful question gets replaced by the loud one. Instead of asking, how should humans and AI work together and strengthen each other, we get pushed into, who wins? I think who wins is the wrong frame. I do not want to make this sound cleaner than it is. The change is already happening. Some industries are being reshaped, and some roles, tasks, and ways of working are already being replaced. At the macro level, this may be a hard-to-avoid part of a larger shift in production. For an individual, it is not a clean macro trend. It can become a very real-life problem. I do not want to use the phrase, humans and AI should coexist, as a soft blanket that covers every cost. Extreme narratives can pull attention and create room, capital, and social permission for technology to develop. The harder question is how to make the process more inclusive, less abrupt, and less indifferent to the people affected by it. Maybe that is still idealistic. Maybe the current state is already one of the least bad outcomes a complex system can produce. Still, that does not stop us from choosing a path closer to what we actually believe is right. The danger is not that we use AI too much. The danger is that we stop noticing what we are handing over. AI is genuinely useful. The key question is not whether we should use it. The question is whether the task has boundaries we can check. When the boundaries are clear, AI is strong at execution and organization. Writing a function, summarizing a document, sorting notes, or calming down a paragraph that clearly declared war on a spreadsheet. You can inspect the result and ask it to revise. When the boundaries are open, as in abstract writing, art, or style exploration, its value is not a standard answer. Its value is generating possibilities. Let the sampling drift a little, and language, imagery, and structure begin to move in directions you may not have reached on your own. That is exactly the point. Language is not a hard boundary. It is not a wall. It is more like a path that can be reorganized. The reasoning, attention, and priorities shaped by language can all be reorganized by new language. AI can put more possibilities in front of you, but what holds up, what is worth keeping, and where the work should go are still matters of human judgment. Logic, retrieval, tools, citations, experiments, and constraints can reduce hallucination risk and make AI more reliable. Those constraints do not turn prediction into responsibility. When a question has no clear standard, when you are the one who pays the cost, and when the answer changes your values, your team, your future direction, or the lives of people who trust you, the model's fluency is not enough. At that point, handing judgment to AI is not just using a tool. It is letting a system that will not live with the consequences make the call for you. That is the part humans should not hand over. Maybe there is a deeper mistake underneath this. We often imagine human intelligence as more perfect than it really is, and then project that fantasy onto AI as the goal. That mistake has a cost. I want to step outside the human versus AI narrative. The relationship I am interested in is not about who is stronger, who is weaker, who commands, and who obeys. That frame is too flat. AI and humans are not the same kind of intelligence, and they do not have to compete for the same seat. AI is good at compression, search, pattern recognition, structuring information, comparison, drafting, and turning randomness into new combinations. It can create variation in ambiguous places, open up space in abstract work, and offer paths in artistic exploration that you may not have reached on your own. Humans are still needed for direction, context, desire, responsibility, taste, values, and the painful but necessary act of choosing. The better relationship to me is coexistence and mutual amplification. AI should make people more capable. It should help a person with an idea explore farther, see more patterns, test more options, and express themselves with more clarity. If you have direction, AI can become a powerful amplifier. If you do not have direction, AI can still produce something impressive, but it may just amplify the emptiness. For Alcheme, that means I do not want AI to appear as another person competing for attention. I do not want it to become the main character. I want it to be the best assistant in the background. In Alcheme, AI can summarize discussion, compare viewpoints, notice repeated questions, identify missing context, mark weak signals, and help transform messy collaboration into something more structured. It can give people suggestions, help a group think more clearly, and make useful information easier to see. It should not quietly take ownership of the judgment. It should not replace real human thinking with a synthetic personality. It should not make the person disappear behind a beautiful answer. The product stance is simple. AI should amplify the person who is thinking, not become a fake person standing in front of them. Not another person. The strongest assistant. Very smart, very fast, occasionally too confident, and preferably not asked to pretend it has a birthday. If you look at Alcheme today, AI is still fairly restrained. Right now, it mainly does a few things. First, it analyzes discussion messages and tries to identify which parts are close to the current topic and which parts look more like noise. Second, it labels what people say: questions, facts, explanations, proposals, summaries, and other useful signals, so the discussion can become more structured later. Third, when a discussion starts to converge, it can generate a summary and help decide whether the discussion is worth moving forward. Fourth, when the conditions are right, it can turn a discussion into an initial draft. Fifth, during draft revision, it can generate more specific suggestions based on the questions and comments people have raised. There is also a voice recap feature, but that part is still conservative and mostly rule-based. AI is already part of the system, but it has not yet become the kind of always available amplifier I imagine. The reason is embarrassingly simple: money. As an independent developer, funding has become one of my major constraints, and it has started to shape some product decisions. I wanted AI to participate more naturally inside the app, closer to the work, and more present in the flow. To control API costs, I have had to keep it in a room with a locked door. Open it when needed. Close it quickly when not needed. Basically, like an expensive heater in a house where the electricity bill already looks personally offended. I know this is a problem, and it makes the next stage feel more urgent. I need to unlock more of the original idea, so AI is not just an occasional feature, but a more natural layer in discussion, organization, filtering, and knowledge formation. All I can do is push as much creativity as possible through the limits I actually have. Thanks.